Hello everyone, happy Tuesday and welcome to another episode of Trendy Tuesday for Spiegel Mom Scraps. Today I am using this awesome bingo card that was for the Secret Not Secret Kit Club challenge for October. I'm going to use that second line there and I'll explain that to you as I go around and about it. So this layout wasn't exactly sure what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted a star and I didn't know. So I started playing and I drew a small one, didn't really like that. So I drew a bigger one, didn't like that. So I drew a huge one and I kind of liked the sketchiness of it. But then I was like, well, okay, do I cut it out? What do I do? I was thinking about doing some washi tape. I didn't really love that. And then when I tried to erase it, it doesn't erase. The pencil I use with the eraser, it wasn't going to work. So my next option was to come on in with this awesome paint. And this is This is some paint that I received in my kit club that I am subscribed to now. And I like the vibrancy of it. So I'm going to use that and to create this really awesome star. And I like it. It's pretty neat. I don't know. It was one of those things where when I started this layout, I was like, I've completely ruined this piece of pattern paper that I really, really love, and I don't know what to do about it. So I kind of was like, well, okay. The next step would be to let it dry a little bit and add some white acrylic paint to kind of help, because it's so vibrant. It's a very vibrant color. So this kind of helped dull it out. And then I looked at it and I'm like, I kind of hate this. So I was like, I don't know what to do. I messaged Daisy, I messaged Christina, I was talking to everyone. I'm like, what do you think I should do? And I kind of had the idea of whitewashing it, and then Daisy mentioned that whitewashing it would be a really good idea, so I kind of just went with that. And I definitely think it helped a lot because it was bad. So in order to whitewash something, and what that means, if you don't know, my assumption is you probably do, but you just take some acrylic paint or anything that's white. I personally use a tiny bit of acrylic paint and then lots and lots of water. That way it is a very light, it makes your paper wet, so you have to be careful, but it is a very light coat, and you can still see everything in the background, but it dims it enough so that it's not quite so vibrant. Now, I didn't gesso this paper at first, and I didn't have too bad of wrinkling, so I don't know. You might want to gesso it first, though I'm not sure how that would work when you're trying to whitewash something, but it's possible. But because it's acrylic paint with just a little bit of water, it doesn't seem to be too bad. So just keep that in mind. I did, however, then go back and do a little layer of gesso, so when I do this watercolor, it was able to soak it up and do what it's supposed to do. And I had a lot of fun kind of playing, because I was like, this layout's either going in the trash because it's going to be awful, and I'm just going to play and see what happens. And thankfully, after a bunch of working with watercolor, I really like the final results. I think it's got a very playful tone to it, which works really well with the photos that I end up choosing. I am deciding to go with the blues and greens, and as you can see, this layout doesn't really have an autumn vibe to it because it's not an autumn layout. I was not originally planning to do this for a Spiegel Mom Scraps layout. I had a different idea in mind for it, but as it kind of came together, I realized that the sequence that I wanted to add was perfect for it, and I wanted to highlight that. And then when I looked at it, I'm like, this would actually be really perfect for a Trendy Tuesday episode, because watercolors are kind of a big thing right now, right? It has been for a while, but I haven't really played with good watercolors before. I finally just was given some so very nicely from Sarah Scrap. She received her own brand new palette of beautiful watercolors, and I cannot pronounce it, so I'm not going to. And so this one was a smaller set, I believe, and so she sent them to me, and so they're partially used, but that means nothing because there's so much in it, and it worked really well. So she's amazing, and I appreciate that, and I got to play with nice watercolors, so that was really fun, and that's where the colors came from. I did use some Heidi Shine for some gold. Messy stitching, you can see that messy stitching was Christina's idea. And then I did go ahead and trace that star, or I will go ahead and trace that star in black just to help it pop up a little bit. And now you can see my photos. So these are photos of my son one morning when... Sorry, Nora's learning to say mama if you can hear her talking. But these are photos of my son one morning before Nora was even thought about. And he was kind of being a little loud and I wanted Sean to be able to sleep in. So I decided to pull out the paint set that I have and let him play, just, get his hands messy and all of that. Well, he loved it. He played not for a very long time. He's, I think, 1 in these photos, so his attention span isn't that great. But he got to play. He was all messy. And then his absolute favorite part of the whole thing was being able to have a bath afterwards, because he got to have a bubble bath. And he thought that was just the coolest thing ever. So he really enjoyed that. And he just really had a great time. And that's what this photo is about. And that's why having this really messy star with all of the watercolors fits so perfectly. I then also decided to go in and I have separated all of my embellishments by color. So I pulled out my green, and so I pulled out pieces from each of them to kind of help tie everything together. I'm using a couple frames and I just kind of played. Again, because I was like, this layout is either going to work really well or it's just going in the trash. So I was able to do a few things I probably wouldn't have done in other ways, which was neat. For example, the adding the different colors of blues and greens and stuff. And I have a hard time with green. I've mentioned this quite a few times. So I tried to really highlight green in this photo in subtle areas just to use up some of my green stuff. In the end, I'm really pleased with that as well. You can see I'm now going in and tracing with the black pen like I mentioned. This is just my Sharpie pen I use with my journaling that I journal with things on. And then I put everything back down. I do use a little bit of foam, like the craft foam, to pop my photos up just a little bit for some dimension, because this is kind of even though there's a bunch of texture with the stitching and the watercolor and stuff, I even added a little tissue paper to kind of help add a softer element to that too. But adding it all together and then popping it up, I found really worked. So the only part that is really kind of off on this layout is the fact that there is a piece of orange on my layout that you see there. I had done this layout already once and I just wasn't happy with it. I've mentioned that before. I like to re-scrap my layouts when I'm not happy, and that was a piece that was there and it was not coming off that photo without ripping it, and so it's gonna live there. But I just placed a little clip on top of it, which helped cover up that little area. And speaking of the clip, now I'm going to talk about what I decided to do with my bingo card. So the first thing was to do watercolors. I obviously got that down, no problem. Clips I had as well. Stitching, I was able to do that. I had done that before I really thought about doing this as a bingo challenge anyways. So the two things that were missing was washi and a doily. So those actually came together pretty easily though, because I had this gold doily. I believe this is from the 9 & Co company. Maybe not. It's from something from my mind's eye. Oh, what was that thing? On Trend, from the On Trend collection. And it really helped because of the fact that I used gold Heidi Shine for it. It helped pop out that gold. So I really loved the way that worked out. And then to just tie everything in with the gold, again, I just used this little bit of washi I had sitting on my desk from a project I wanted to use it for and it didn't happen. And I'm just going to randomly tear it and place it in a few areas on my layout. And that basically does it. I'm just going to add my title, which is super boring. I don't know where I used to make really awesome titles that I loved so much, and it's kind of gone out the window. So I need to get back to my creative titles, because I like that. And my layouts, when I look at them, I miss them. So I need to go back to that. But this one is just going to simply be titled Paint. And then right above that, I'm going to end up doing my journaling, which you should see in the finished layout. And that does it. I do have my sequins, which happened to be sitting on my desk from last week's project. So they were still in my little leaf thing, and I just add a few throughout the layout. I believe they are a mix of Mocha Mint Dream and Fairy Garden, I believe, are the mixes there. And I just pulled out the blue, teal, and brownish colors there. Just the brown kind of resemble gold to me, so I was able to do that. And that does it for my layout. So I hope you've enjoyed this. Don't forget to check out Spiegel Mom's Scrap Shop and get your hands on some awesome, beautiful sequins. The new ones come out in November, but we're going to start sharing some projects with them soon, I hope, so you can have a look. And don't forget, you can always use my code Christy15 for 15% off in the shop. Bye, everyone. See you next week.